तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिते नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणी।
Thank you, bro. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudire. So we have discussed the first three verses. The first three verses are like the introduction, the prelude to Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And from fourth verse till eighth verse, this is the setting of the scene. Like we saw in Śrīmad-Bhagavad Gita, setting of the scene was there. That was the first chapter. The arrangement of the armies on the both sides. So very interesting. See what comes up next. This is the fourth verse. Naimishe anime kshetre Rishya Sonakadaya Shatram Swarga Lokaya Sahasra Samamasata. So Naimishe is the Kshetra. This is the forest known as Naimisharanya. You've heard about Naimisharanya? Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is spoken simultaneously in many places. One of the beginning is from Naimisharanya. So Naimisharanya is near Lucknow, where 88,000 sages have assembled here. And they had assembled for a very prominent humanitarian cause, because the Kali Yuga was to appear. And all these sages, they were having such apprehensions and doubts that what will be the situation of the human race by the influence of Kali. So they all assembled to find some solution. So this word is Naimishe, very artistically composed. Naimishe Animesha Kshetra. And it is also called the Animesha. Nimesha also means the time which is required for the eyelid to be closed. How much time it requires? Yugayitam Nimishena. Every day we recite for Mahaprabhu's Sikshashtakam. So Nimishena means that fraction of a second in which one can close and open his eye. And it is Naimisharanya is the Animesha Kshetra, where it is specially favored by Lord Vishnu. The spot which is specially favorite of Vishnu, who does not close his eyelids. If you observe the deity, we went to Srirangam, but I don't know how many of us could observe quite a distance. Even if the Lord is resting, he is in Yoga Nidra, his eyes are half open. It is not closed. So it is the Animesha Kshetra. Naimesha Animesha Kshetra. So very, very spiritually surcharged place. Just imagine, this should be the aspiration. In Bhagavad Gita, what was the word? Gudakesha. One who has conquered the sleep. And this place itself is so potent, so sanctified, that while they will be hearing for 1,000 years, just imagine, to hear for 1,000 years without animation, without even the blink of the eye. What to talk of sleep? So this is the very empowered place. In Bhagavad Gita 6th chapter, Krishna talks about that place which is empowered. Anyone remembers? In the 6th chapter, Krishna talks about what is that word? Anyone remembers? Shuchaudeshe. Shuchaudeshe. Shuchaudeshe pratishthavya. So this is what is Shuchaudeshe. Such a surcharged place where even one will not blink his eye. There will be no influence of sleep. So they can very attentively hear the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And Rishya Sonakadaya. That is the place where the great sages led by Sonak Rishi. And what are they performing there? Why they have assembled? Shatram, for performing sacrifice. And what is the purpose of performing the sacrifice? For the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. That is very important. It says Swargaya Lokaya. Normally we will, interpret or assume that it is talking about the Swargalo. No, it is said Swargaya Lokaya Saharsasa. That the Lord which is glorified even in the heavenly planets. That is Lord Vishnu. Saharsasa means 1000. And Sama means years. And Ashrata means perform. So that sacrifice they assembled in this place of Naimisharanya to perform the sacrifice which was for the glorification or the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. Once in the holy place in the forest of Naimisharanya, great sages headed by sage Shaunaka assembled to perform a great 1000-year sacrifice for the satisfaction of the Lord and his devotees. So this is the setting of this scene. The prelude to the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam was spoken in the previous 3 shlokas. Now the main topic of this great literature is being presented. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, after its first recitation by Srila Shukadeva Goswami, was repeated for the second time at Naimisharanya. So this is the setting. In the Vayavya Tantra, it is said that Brahma, the engineer of this particular universe, contemplated a great wheel which would enclose the universe. Okay. It is said that Brahma, the engineer of this particular universe, contemplated a great wheel which could enclose the universe. The hub of this great circle was fixed at a particular place known as Naimisharanya. So this is very interesting. So Naimisharanya is the epicenter of the entire universe. You understand the epicenter? It is the center of the center. It is the epicenter of the entire universe, of this planet Earth. Similarly, there is another reference to the forest of Naimisharanya in the Varaha Purana, where it is stated that by performance of sacrifice at this place, the strength of demoniac people is curtailed. Thus, Brahmanas prefer Naimisharanya for such sacrificial performance. What is the corresponding Kshetra mentioned in Bhagavad Gita? Like this, Kshetra is so empowered. Which is the corresponding Kshetra in Bhagavad Gita? That is also there in the setting of the scene. Very simple. It is such a simple question. It should not be even asked.
कुरुक्षेत्र प्रभुजी.
Yeah, Dharma Kshetre, Kurukshetre. There also Samaveta Yuyusava. There they assembled for fighting. But here they have assembled for a very special purpose. There also there is a huge assembly of the armies. But here is the assembly of great sages. Okay. The devotees of Lord Vishnu offer all kinds of sacrifice for his pleasure. The devotees are always attached to the service of the Lord, whereas fallen souls are attached to the pleasure of the material existence. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that anything performed in the material world for any reason other than the pleasure of the Lord Vishnu causes further bondage for the performer. Very important verse. This gives the principle. Very popular verse. What is this verse? Anything performed in this material world for any reason other than the pleasure of the Lord Vishnu causes further bondage for the performer. It is therefore enjoined that all acts must be performed sacrificially for the satisfaction of Vishnu and his devotees. This will bring everyone peace and prosperity. What is the verse? देवाशीष आप बताएंगे कौन सा श्लोक है ये भगवद गीता का?
याद नहीं
याद नहीं? याद हुआ ही कब कि भूल गए? रजिस्टर ही नहीं हुआ. गणेश प्रभु
Prabhuji, 3.13.
Notice the verse in 3.13.
Prabhuji, वो if we are not performing sacrifice, it is sinful activities. Whatever.
Read. Open from where you have got this reference. 3.13. It is talking about bondage.
The devotees of the Lord released from all kind of sin because they
मुच्यते सर्वकिल विषय भुंजते ते तो agam papam ye pachanti atkarana. No, that is not in this context. You see what Prabhupada is mentioning here. Prabhupada is mentioning, it is said in the Bhagavad Gita, anything performed in the material world for any reason other than the pleasure of Lord Vishnu causes further bondage for the performer. That is talking about papam. That is not talking about bandhanam. You got the point?
Yes, Prabhuji.
I know both of you, those who have raised their hand, they're very simple. Today also we discussed the verse. In today's morning discussion, we discussed very basic, most basic thing to know in Krishna consciousness. बोलिए माननीय माता जी कौन सा वर्स है?
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी दंडवत बनाए.
हरे कृष्ण.
याद नहीं है प्रभु जी.
ये तो याद रखना पड़ेगा, नहीं तो फंसे रहेंगे.
प्रभु जी चैप्टर 2 में है क्या सर?
नहीं, चैप्टर 3 में ही है. देवदत्ता आपको पता है?
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी. नहीं पता प्रभु जी.
जो रेगुलर सुनते हैं उन्हीं को पता है. बोलिए रविंद्र मधुसूदन प्रभु. बहुत बेसिक है. चैप्टर 3 से है. वेरी कॉमन वर्स.
मयि कर्माणि सर्वम.
नहीं, बोलिए सोनिका.
पूरा श्लोक याद नहीं बट यज्ञ अर्थात कर्मणो अन्यत्र
Yes,
लोकायम
that is
कर्म
very
बंधन।
simple. Yagya अर्थात कर्मणो अन्यत्र लोको अयम कर्म बंधना तदर्थम कर्म कौन्तेय मुक्त संगा समाचर. So this is the proposition of all these sages. What is the purpose of assembly? Is to perform sacrifice. And for whose pleasure? For the Supreme Lord Vishnu. Yagya arthat karmano. So the great sages are always anxious. Okay, I'll read from the screen. The devotees of the Lord Vishnu offer all kinds of sacrifice for his pleasure. Okay, this we have read. So therefore all acts must be performed sacrificially for the satisfaction of Vishnu and his devotees. This will bring everyone peace and prosperity. The great sages are always anxious to do good to the people in general. That is what a sadhu means. Sadhu means he does good to others. And as such, the sages headed by Sonak and others assembled at this holy place of Naimisharanya with a program of performing a great and continuous chain of sacrificial ceremonies. So this was the purpose. They were always anxious to do good to people in general. And they assembled, and the program was to perform a very big and continuous sacrifice. Forgetful men do not know the right path for peace and prosperity. However, the sages knew it well. And therefore, for the good of all men, they are always anxious to perform acts which may bring about peace in the world. They are sincere friends to all the living entities. And at the risk of great personal inconvenience, they are always engaged in service of the Lord for the good of the people. There is a verse in Bhagavad Gita in the 5th chapter which talks about it says Labante Brahma Nirmanam Rishiyashin Kalmasha Chinna Dveda Yatatmanam Sarvabhuta Hiterata. So the sages, they are always Sarvabhut Hiterata, who are always busy working for the welfare of all the living beings. So who can do that? Who are Brahma Nirvanam. They are on the platform which is beyond dualities and doubt. And there they are Rishya. So these all these sages are Rishis. And they are free from all kalmashaha. They have no material desire or hankering in their heart. That is how one can think of others' welfare. Otherwise, it is not possible. They are the sincere friends to all the living entities, and at the risk of great personal inconvenience, they are always engaged in the service of the Lord for the good of living entities. They are like branches, twigs, and leaves of the tree. Lord Vishnu is just like a great tree, and all others, including the demigods, men, siddhas, charanas, vidyadharas, and other living entities, are like branches, twigs, and leaves of that tree. By pouring water on the root of the tree, all the parts of the tree are automatically nourished. Only those branches and leaves which are detached cannot be satisfied. Detached branches and leaves dry up gradually despite all watering attempts. Similarly, human society, when it is detached from the personality of Godhead, like detached branches and leaves, is not capable of being watered, and one attempting to do so is simply wasting his energy and resource. Prabhupada is giving this brilliant analogy. The modern society is detached from its relation to the Supreme Lord. This is where the detachment is. The modern society is detached from spirit, and it is overly attached to matter. And of course, it is supremely detached to the Supreme Spirit, which is the Supreme Lord. And all its plans, which are being made by atheistic leaders, are sure to be baffled at every step. Yet they do not wake up to this. Which verse is this? In the 9th chapter. All their plans are baffled. Prabhupada uses the same word. When I went this time for this youth festival, they were conducting one Bhagavad Gita quiz. And let me tell you, the quality of the quiz was very, very high. One would have read Bhagavad Gita very thoroughly. Then only it was possible to answer. Otherwise, in general, one will not be able to answer. And one of the students, I know him, is very sincere. He's from our temple only. Because it was many devotees came from all over India. He's one very simple Gopinath, initiated devotee. And he was giving perfect answers. And I was appreciating how much sincerely and deeply he has studied the purports of Srila Prabhupada. And most of the questions were from purports. So which verse is this? Actually, this is very gross. Yes, Pradeep Prabhu?
मोगाशा मोग कर्म मोग ज्ञान विचेतस
Very good.
राक्षसम असृंचैव प्रकृतिं मोहनीमास.
Very good. Perfect answer. 9-11. Mogasha, moga karmana. All their plans, mogasha, all their desires and their plans will be baffled. Mogasha, moga karmana. All their activities, their results will create bewilderment and moha jnana. So whatever knowledge they have, that will also cause and create bewilderment. So here, Prabhupada is saying that materialistic society is detached from its relation to the Supreme Lord, and all its plans which are being made by atheistic leaders are sure to be baffled at every step. Yet they do not wake up to this. In this age, the congregation chanting of the holy names of the Lord is the prescribed method for waking up. Jiva Jago. This is a Jiva Jago program. The ways and means are most scientifically presented by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. An intelligent person may take advantage of his teachings in order to bring about real peace and prosperity. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is also presented for the same purpose, and this will be explained more specifically in the later text. Later in the text. I'll go to the next verse. Is it clear? So this is the setting of the scene. Why the sages were assembled? What was the purpose? And they were all under the leadership of Saunak Rishi, who was the eldest, or he was the senior most. Fifth verse. Taikadatu muneya praterhuta hutagnaya shatkritam shutamashinam praprachur idam adarat. So ekda means one day. One day after finishing their morning duties by burning sacrificial fire. This is huta, burning. You remember the discussion we had in the 4th chapter. We're talking about sacrifice. So what is required? Sacrificial fire is required. So burning the sacrificial fire and offering a seat of esteem to Srila Suta Goswami. The great sages made inquiries with great respect about the following matter. So when all these sages had assembled in that very spiritually surcharged place of Naimisharanya, and at that time, this exalted sage Suta Goswami appears in the assembly. And all of them, they accept Suta Goswami as their leader. And the sages assembled there, they begin their inquiry. And how they begin their inquiry? With great respect about the following matters. So Prabhupada says that morning is the best time to hold spiritual services. But Kali Yuga Jiva is trying to reverse it. They want to sleep in the morning and they want to be hyperactive in the night. The great sages offered the speaker of the Bhagavatam an elevated seat of respect called the Vyasasana, or the seat of Sri Vyasadeva. Sri Vyasadeva is the original spiritual preceptor for all men. And all other preceptors are considered to be his representative. A representative is one who can exactly present the viewpoint of Sri Vyasadeva. Sri Vyasadeva impregnated the message of the Bhagavatam unto Srila Shukadeva Goswami. And Sri Suta Goswami heard it from him, Sri Shukadeva Goswami. All bona fide representatives of Sri Vyasadeva in the chain of disciplic succession are to be understood to be Goswamis. So this is Prabhupada is saying how the parampara flows. These Goswamis restrain all their senses and they stick to the path made by previous acharyas. Mahajana yena gatha svapantha. The Goswamis do not deliver lecture on the Bhagavatam capriciously. Rather, they execute their services most carefully, following their predecessors, who delivered the spiritual message unbroken to them. Those who listen to the Bhagavatam may put questions to the speaker in order to elicit the clear meaning. But this should not be done in a challenging spirit. What is the spirit? What is the spirit? Discussed a few days back. Yeah. Tad vidhi paripatena pariprashnena sevaya. It should never be done as a challenging spirit. One must submit questions with great but by submissive oral reception from the right sources. Therefore, the sages address the speaker Sud Goswami with great respect. Okay, so far clear? Verse number 4th and 5th. How it is the setting of the scene. Bolo, clear hai? Go ahead. Now we will increase. Okay, some hands are up. Bataiye. 3 hands are up. Yes, Devadatta. What is your question?
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी। प्रभु जी पॉपकॉर्न के अंदर जो डेमी गॉड्स मैन के बाद और 2 टर्म्स आए थे, चरणस, सिद्धास एंड विद्याधर, वो क्या होता है प्रभु जी?
These are all the perfected beings. They are higher than the human platform. There are many, many planets. There are at least how many higher planets? 7. 7 planets which are higher than the earthly planet. Earthly planet is in the center. There are 7 planets which are lower and 7 planets which are higher. So among the residents of the higher planets, so these are the ones. You will find it, Prabhupada is explaining at time who are these Vidyadharas and Charanas. This is in the 6th verse or 5th verse?
Previous one, Prabhuji.
Verse number
4.
4th. Yeah. So see what it is saying. They are sincere friends of all the living entities, and at the risk of great personal inconvenience, they are always engaged in the service of the Lord for the good of all people. Lord Vishnu is just like a tree, and all others, including the demigods, men, siddhas. Siddhas is those who are perfected, siddhas. Then there are charanas. Then vidyadhara. So these are all categories of those who have attained the platform which is higher than the human platform. They are somewhere between the demigods and the human platform. But of course, they are elevated than the human platform. They are in the upper planetary systems. Okay. Yes, Sonika? Bolia. You raised your hand. Unmute and speak.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji,
Hare Krishna.
in fourth sloka,
Yeah.
it was mentioned that all the sages assembled for 1,000-year yagya. So that yagya was hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam only.
Yes, eventually that is what happened. But the purpose was, when they assembled, it was not hearing Bhagavatam. You see, what was the purpose was to perform a great 1,000-year sacrifice for the satisfaction of the Lord and his devotees. That was the purpose. चलो जी, मैं क्लास ले रहा हूँ, मैं आपसे 10 मिनट में बात करता हूँ क्लास के बाद. हाँ जी. So see the setting of the scene. So these are thoroughly pious and sincere men. And what is the purpose of assembly? Not for their own selfish motivation or for any fulfillment of their desire. But what is the purpose? Sarva bhut hite rata. For the welfare of the entire human race. So these are very elevated souls. Okay? Yes, there should be.
Prabhuji, what is submission? Prabhuji, submissive oral reception, submission.
You know what is mission? What is mission?
Mission is Prabhuji, a set of activity to reach a particular goal.
To have a goal in life. And the endeavor and the effort is made to achieve it. Submission means to give up one's own goal, to submit to what is the mission of the Supreme Lord and his devotees. Okay. I'm not giving you a textbook definition. I'm giving you a practical definition. This is submission. You submit your mission and accept the mission of the Supreme Lord and his representative. That is submission. Is it possible?
Yes, Prabhuji. Possible.
Not so easy. You said yes, but it requires sacrifice. It requires sacrifice of sacrificing one's own selfish interest. Not easy. Kali Yuga Jiv, it is almost practically impossible. Okay?
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Go ahead for the next verse. We'll take at least, I was trying to take this theme of setting of the scene. But still, we are in no hurry. This is a lifetime. We have a commitment of lifetime to study Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And as far as possible, without gaps. Bolo Ganesh, if you have something to ask, bolo.
No, Prabhuji, I don't have a question, Prabhuji.
Okay. The sages were assembled to perform the sacrifice for 1,000 years. But in the morning, I was reading the Prabhupada's purport. When Narad Muni is talking about Puranjan and Puranjani, so Prabhupada is saying that everyone has 100 years of lifespan. By any permutation or combination, we cannot extend it for 1,000 years. And out of that 100 years, at least 30, 40 years are past. It's already over. Okay, yes, Sonika?
Prabhuji, how to remember the sloka of Bhagavad Gita? Because this time in Bhagavatam, you, Prabhuji, helped us to remember these 3 slokas. But in case of Bhagavad Gita, all of a sudden, the sloka can't be memorized. So how can we do it?
No, nothing can be done all of a sudden. Nothing happens abruptly. Krishna has already given the principle in Bhagavad Gita. What is the principle? Who remembers?
Yes.
What did Krishna recommend?
Krishna recommended after the sloka of Chanchala Himana Krishna that Abhyasena tu Kaunteya.
You know the answer. You know the principle. It is Abhyasa. Ravindra Prabhu's and Priyanka Mataji's daughter come every Sunday. So I every Sunday hear from her. And she is enthusiastically memorizing. Today I made our Dayashil Prabhu write these 3 shlokas so that he does not miss out. So we have to make an effort. See what we will remember. Why don't you forget the password of your email? Do you forget the password of your email? Huh? Why not? Because you think it is very important. If I forget the password, then how will I access the mail? What is there in the mail? All not required things. Why don't you forget the account number of your bank? Do you forget the bank account number? You will write it, you will record it, you will reserve it, isn't it? Yes or no? Why it has happened that, Prabhuji, I forgot the bank account, so I cannot withdraw money. I have never heard from anyone. Huh? Forgetfulness means not giving value. And how to become conversant or how to become, pakka, practice it. Practice every day. Very simple. We have much time. While you are taking bath, what can you do? You can repeat the verses. You can memorize the verses. And once you have remembered the verses, then you can go deeper into the verses. This is what I was explaining today to devotees who came. If you have memorized it, then start meditating on the meaning. And the verses will start to expand and open. And gradually you can see how much nectar is there in each verse. It is rasam alayam. But one has to become rasika to taste that nectar. So practice is required. And how one can practice? What is the second recommendation? Not everyone and everyone can practice. You will not be able to practice. Because the second most essential thing, also Krishna is recommending both together. Yes, Ramya? What is the second aspect?
Rigidly, Prabhuji. Practice very rigidly.
Yeah, but what is the essential element required to practice? Yes, Ganesh?
Military discipline, Prabhuji.
No. Detachment. Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha guhyate. Vairagya. Detachment. Detachment from all our attachments. Otherwise, one will not be able to practice. He may only speak and think about practice, but it will not be integrated in his life. Essential element is detachment. Detach and practice. Okay. See the detachment of these sages. They are assembled to perform sacrifice for 1,000 years. And in sacrifice, there will be oblations. And from the oblations, what will be coming? So much of thick smoke. Voluntarily willing to accept such smoke. Why? For the welfare of others. So this is the compassion. So when they had such sincere and honest mission or desire, so Krishna reciprocated. He sent Suta Goswami there. As we saw, Suta Goswami has appeared on the scene. And who's Suta Goswami? He is the one who has heard it right from Srila Shukadeva Goswami. Okay, so I'm not proceeding further. I have many calls to make. Many calls are waiting. But very, very important. You can memorize these 2 verses also. Not very difficult. Just put a little bit of effort. Simple verses. Memorize. As we go ahead, memorize. You will see if you start memorizing and you start repeating the verses of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam or Bhagavad Gita, then what we are doing, we are associating with Krishna, both in terms of Vapu and Vani. How much will be purified? So please make it a practice. Does it take, was it very difficult? You had to, squeeze some 1 hour or 2 hours every day to be able to do that? How difficult was it? Tell me, Sonika. Was it so difficult to memorize the 3 verses?
No, Prabhuji. They were just obligation that I have to memorize.
Yeah. And in the association, it became so easy. Krishna has already given the principle. Bodhyanta parasparam. Kathyantascha mam nitya tushyanti cha ramanti cha. So it is empowered. I saw it practically in my Bhakti Vaibhav session. I had never previously tried to memorize Bhagavatam verse like this. It happened. By the time I could realize, it was memorized. And it is with all of us. So keep practicing. Why? Because we are within this material existence where the influence of the lower mode is there. So keep practicing. Keep writing. If you keep writing, you have stopped writing now, which is not a good practice. Keep writing, keep sharing. What you are doing, we are taking that impression deeper into our consciousness. And you will see that these impressions which go as per the recommendation that we was discussing today, yeme matamidam anutishtanti manava shraddhavanto anusuyante tepi muchyate kam karmabhi. So whatever is recommended process, what we have to try to do, we have to align, not oppose or argue. That is submission. To that extent, the process starts to work. And we will see, we will change. Things will start to change. Okay. So it is the matter of practice. And to be able to practice that, you have to be detached. Anasaktasya vishyan. All that is distract us. What is the sixth element of Sharanagati? Anukulasya sankalpaha and pratikulasya varjanam. So on this principle, it will become very easy because it is empowered. Krishna will reciprocate. So keep practicing. Don't leave it now. You have memorized the first 3 verses. Take it to your core of your memory. Don't leave it. Every day revise few times. And you see, many times you go through the verse, try to meditate on the word meaning, then try to meditate on the translation, then gradually go deeper, go into the purport. I have one devotee who is senior to me. Many times I consult him. Yesterday also I consulted him for Bahula Ashtami. Every day he recites, at least now, previously he was reciting full Bhagavad Gita, but after so many years, every day he recites at least 6 chapters. And he had made it a practice. So we can do that. We should take such goals, particularly in the month of Kartik. Then let me memorize 30 verses. Every day 1 verse. Possible, not impossible. If you put an attempt, it will become possible. And how does it matter if the 30 is not 30, it is 27 or 25? But the attempt is there. The purification will be there. And you will see, once you have this appetite of revising and memorizing, you will see the shlokas will start to remain in the memory automatically. Not much is required. Just a little bit of attentive hearing and it will get into your memory. That's all. So thank you very much for your continued enthusiasm and interest and inclination. Our sincere prayer that Krishna gives you more intelligence, spiritual intelligence, to have much more interest in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And we continue our study. Today is also Bahulashmi. My time is up. I cannot speak now. Maybe we will this time try when we are going for Yatra to go to Bahulavan also. If it is not very far. It is very near to Kamyavan, as I could find out. Very, very near to Kamyavan. Very glorious place. And very glorious devotee of Lord Krishna. Because of one cow, this Bahulashtami has been celebrated even now, after 5,000 years of Krishna wrapping up his pastime. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. We'll continue tomorrow from the next verse. We have covered 4th and 5th. Tomorrow we will 4th, 5th. We did 6th also. No, we did not do 6th. We will continue from 6th tomorrow.